Hey everyone, Brian from All Day Ruckoff here. In today's podcast episode is with JJ Pinter from Team RWB. In this episode, we talk about Team RWB, how he got involved with GORUCK, and this new virtual event that Team RWB and GORUCK are putting on for the month of August 2020. In the process of getting over a cold right now, but don't worry, I recorded this interview before I got sick, so you don't have to hear me interview him with this sick voice. Thank you so much for all the support. You're listening to the All Day Ruck-Off podcast, episode number 161. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for downloading this episode. Truly appreciate it. And here it is, the interview with JJ Pinter. Today, I'm talking with JJ Pinter. Really excited to have him on the podcast. He is the Deputy Director over at Team RWB. We're going to be talking about Team RWB in general. We're going to be talking about their relationship with GORUCK and Rucking. And then we're going to get into the joint virtual event that Team RWB is putting on with GORUCK in August. JJ, how you doing today?
I'm fantastic, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for taking the time. I know it's a really busy time of year. I know you got a lot going on, and I just want you to know I appreciate it.
I like that. I appreciate the support and everything that you guys do. So happy to do it.
So before we get into, Team RWB, and what it is, I'm curious about, how long you've been working for Team RWB and what you do as the Deputy Director.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I was actually the second employee at Team RWB, full-time employee, and I was a volunteer even before then. So I've been involved in Team RWB since its very beginning. It was actually started by someone that I served in the Army with. And yeah, so I guess as a full-time staff for 8 years, but probably 10-ish years, in volunteer capacity as well. So good or bad, my fingerprints are all over Team RWB, and so, and I'm still doing it.
That's awesome. So it must have been, pretty exciting to see the organization grow to what it is today.
I would say it's equal parts exciting and terrifying. That's probably the most apt way to describe it. Working in a small business and kind of a medium-sized business and helping grow it, and all of the things that go along with that are it's awesome when you get a chance to see the impact that you're having. But it's also terrifying when you're hiring people and people are quitting their jobs to come work for you, and it's very real in that sense.
Yeah, a lot of people, for the most part, talk about all the exciting things around success and growth, but I mean, there's, like you said, equal parts, terrifying that comes along with it.
100%.
So for those who are listening and don't know what Team RWB is, can you give a description, what you guys do, what you're about?
Yeah, so Team RWB in its most kind of elemental sense, we're a veteran-serving nonprofit. We're nationwide, and I think we would be considered a post 9/11 organization in the sense that we were started, kind of during the global war on terror, and we are very focused on health. And it sounds simple, but we're very focused on health, and we're very focused on physical and mental health, and we do it in very simple ways. We have chapters and we host events. We bring veterans together with other veterans and members of the community, and we try to keep them healthy through exercise, through social connection, and we're trying to really work on resilience and keeping people physically healthy, which is a terrible problem in the veteran community, and poor health has all sorts of really bad comorbidities and leads to really bad outcomes for veterans. So what we do is super simple, and I think the beauty is in the elegance. And so we host events and we bring people together. We're a nationwide organization. We have, I think, close to 250,000 members now. So we're one of the bigger veteran nonprofits, but we are volunteer run primarily, and we're completely virtual. We don't have traditional infrastructure like most organizations do. So we've kind of this whole COVID work from home thing was no big deal for us. We've been doing it for 10 years.
That's awesome. And that's, one of the things that, having been partially involved with Team RWB for a couple of years, that's always excited me is that when there's new groups coming in, you don't have to build a building somewhere, right? You don't have to find an office space to lease to expand. It's just so much, it feels, community driven.
It does. And, just from on the business side, you're able to keep your fixed costs down. So we can be very agile, we can be very nimble, and we can really like punch above our weight in terms of, what we can do with a dollar. So and, we can hire the best people because they don't need to be in any location, so we can look anywhere. So there's a lot of benefits for sure.
That's one of the things that I've always liked, when I donate to Team RWB is that I know I'm not donating for some prime real estate in a city so everyone can prominently see the logo.
Yeah, I appreciate the support. One of the things that we try to do is, I look at every penny we spend and I try to think about it as if my grandma was giving it to us, and I want to be able to look her in the eye and be proud at, how we're spending her dollar. And so, we try to be, every single penny we have is given to us by someone, and we take that responsibility very seriously.
I've got a smile on my face just thinking about that. That's an awesome way to approach it. And, that's awesome to hear that.
Well, the support, we wouldn't be here without our members and without fantastic supporters like you. So we really appreciate it. So right back at you.
So you talked about fitness as, one of the ways that you kind of combat mental health. Because I know personally for fitness, when I haven't exercised in a week or two, I find other things in my life slipping. And then as soon as I get back on and start exercising again, get back together with an exercise community, it feels like things start picking back up. So, I'm curious how rucking plays in with that, because I know that at least in my local group, one of the, in quotes, local groups, it's about an hour away. I know that they put together, weekly rucks. Is rucking something that a lot of Team RWB chapters are doing?
Yeah, so it's really interesting that you say that. When rucking first became a thing, and kind of like when it first came on my radar, I guess, it would have been like 2013-ish. My first initial reaction was just like, I did so much of that when I was in the Army. I have no desire to put weight on my back and walk some more. But the thing about Team RWB is it's volunteer led, and from very grassroots, our members were really interested in rucking. And so I just kind of saw it percolate up from the bottom, and it has continued to grow for a lot of the reasons that you say. I think the social aspect is, there's a couple of reasons it really resonates. It's social, you can talk, it's low impact, but you can still get a really good exercise, and it's infinitely scalable. You can make it as hard as you want to make it. And so most of our chapters have some kind of a combination ruck type thing. And then we actually have a rucking community that exists, within Team RWB as well. We have daily workouts, and we have a very supportive kind of, social media kind of Facebook group around rucking. And it's really permeated the organization in a way that's been really cool.
And that's one of my favorite parts about getting together with people to ruck is the social aspect, because like you said, it's very scalable. When you get groups together to run, generally you have different pace groups. There's going to be someone who's going to be running 7-minute miles. There's going to be people who are running 10, 11, 12-minute miles. And the people who are running 7-minute miles are probably never going to talk to the people who are running 10, 11, 12-minute miles, except for before and after, because they're not going to be, running at the same pace together. But with rucking, you can have someone who's got a 40-pound ruck and a sandbag on there walking at the same pace as someone who's got a 10-pound weight in there. And they're able to converse, get to know each other. And, it just feels a lot more social.
It does. And it's very accessible, right? We'll talk about GORUCK in a second here. I'm a long-time huge fan of the organization. And, certainly if it's something that you're going to want to get some quality gear if you're going to, do it consistently, but you don't have to, right? Like you can get your kid's backpack and put, cans from the pantry in it to get started, and so that's one of the things I like about it as well, is it's very accessible to everybody. And the social aspect is so important, because that's almost, I think, as important as the physical aspect is the community. And there's a community around rucking that's unlike, I think, any other sport or activity. I guess I can call it a sport now because it's been the CrossFit Games. Any other kind of, thing that I've seen before.
And so speaking of community, I mean, you've mentioned that Team RWB has an online presence with a rucking community. You've got your local chapters that are putting on rucks. If someone's listening to this and they want to get involved, they want to find another group to ruck with, what's a good way to get involved in your local Team RWB chapter and figure out if they do have a rucking group?
Yeah, the easiest way that I tell people is that we have a very robust app, and that's kind of the center of our universe. So just download our app and you can join the organization. It's on iTunes or Google Play, and you can go to our website, obviously, but the app is kind of the easiest way. Normally, we would have very robust kind of, chapter ruck offerings. Most of our chapters are, due to the quarantine, are not doing in-person events right now. Some are where it's allowed, but we have daily ruck workouts on our app that are virtual that come to you from our rucking community. And then you can go to Facebook and you just Google Team RWB Rucking and that'll come up. And so that's a very kind of vibrant community. It's not as kind of rowdy as like the tough group, but it's that's a vibrant community as well. So there's lots of opportunity, and as things loosen up and there, we start to do more in-person events, like you will see a layering on of rucking opportunities, more locally as it's allowable.
That makes a lot of sense. So if someone's listening to this in the future and kind of quarantine's done, then they'll see a lot more local offerings. But right now it's a lot more virtual.
Yeah, there are. I have been watching though. They're kind of, there are more and more every week, and people are just being, mindful and socially distancing and doing that kind of stuff. But there's no reason that you can't still get a small group together and do a ruck. So some of our chapters are certainly doing that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, just as more information comes out and more research is done, it seems, at least as of right now, that as long as you're outside and you're maintaining an okay distance, that it's relatively safe. It seems like a lot of the issues are coming in when it's enclosed and inside, close quarters with people. So
yeah, and I'm unencumbered by any medical knowledge here,
yeah.
but like I'd be willing to bet that I think probably the best thing that we can all do right now is to be healthy and strong, and or one of the best things, maybe not the best thing, but that's a very important thing, and I think rucking can be a really important part of that equation.
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about mental health a little bit and how fitness plays a huge role in that. So it's taxing right now mentally being cooped up in your house all day for weeks on end. So getting maintaining that fitness is definitely important to maintaining that mental state.
Yep, for sure.
So you mentioned that you've had a kind of long relationship with GORUCK. When did you or Team RWB kind of start doing things with GORUCK?
Man, it's been a long time. So in preparation for this, I was going back and looking at some old emails. I think I first heard of GORUCK in 2013, and I first came in contact with GORUCK in 2014. And my longtime friend who, was in the Army with, was our first executive director. His name was Blaine Smith, and Blaine was a Green Beret when he was in the Army. And then Blaine had met Jason McCarthy somewhere, and they were both, served at the same time I think in different places. So they were both special forces together. And that's how I first came across GORUCK. And they did some, some 5Ks and some other things kind of back in the day. They've done various things, but we've worked together with them on an event in some form or fashion every year, I think, since 2014. And so I've known Jason and the GORUCK team, I mean, what is that, 6 or 7 years now? So long time.
It's crazy how time flies.
Yeah, 100%. I've been down to the headquarters, I don't know, 4 or 5 times over the years, and so it's been a wonderful relationship.
And so we were kind of talking about this before we started recording, but you've done one GORUCK event, and it was the inaugural 50-miler event. So I'm curious how you got roped into that.
So it's interesting that you say that. I had always, they had always kind of offered up like, hey, you should come do an event sometime. You should come do an event sometime. And it just kind of never lined up. I live in Louisville, Kentucky, and so it's not a, super urban area where we have tons of events. And it just never kind of lined up. And I actually went on a hiking trip we hiked the Grand Canyon, and it was me and Jason McCarthy and a couple other friends one January, and they were toying around with the idea of this kind of GORUCK Star Course kind of 50-mile thing. And, flippantly over potentially some bourbon, I just kind of said, yeah, I'll do it. And didn't think much about it. And then it, came to fruition, 6 months later. And it was a really cool opportunity. And so I signed up, and, I was on Jason's team with a couple other friends of ours. And yeah, I think we actually made a little bit of a misstep and maybe walked a little closer to like 56, 57 miles at some point. And that was my first and only kind of official GORUCK event. And it was just a suck fest. It rained the entire time. It was really cold. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think there were like 800 people who started and like 200 and some that finished or something. I mean, it was just a bloodbath in that regard. And I really enjoyed it. And so I'm waiting for the next kind of, just like the next right experience to jump back in, because that was such a really powerful experience.
Yeah, that's quite the way to sign up for something like that. I mean, I remember kind of reading about that trip, and it seemed like the weather was pretty decent. So it's, you're kind of relaxing, and it's easy to say yes to something, and then the event comes, and I mean, that weather for your first Star Course, that was a mess.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky in the sense that I didn't really train much for it either. I should also tell you that. But I've always had the ability. I'm kind of long and lanky. I got long legs, so I've always had the ability to kind of move out pretty good. And I've always been able to kind of just be pretty gritty when I needed to. But I was concerned about chafing or blisters. Those are like my only two concerns. And so I did feel confident in the gear that I was wearing going into it, and I never had any of those problems. And so, but it'd been a different story if I had a big bloody blister or something, but I didn't. And so I just, just kept my head down and kept walking.
So you said you didn't train too much for that event. I mean, before you went out there, what was your longest ruck to date?
I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I think probably, so I had done I've run a couple marathons and done some longer distance hikes and stuff like that. But when we talk about like rucking per se, I think one day, I did 12 miles one day just to kind of just to do a quick equipment check, maybe like 10 days before the event. And that's definitely the longest I had ever rucked. I don't recommend this course of action to anyone else.
Yeah.
To this. We had a newborn at the time. I have 3 kids, and so we had a newborn at the time. And so I was just trying to be as helpful with my wife as possible. And I dramatically undertrained.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, 12 miles rucking, if you're going at a 15-minute pace, I mean, that's 3 hours. You can bust out a 12-mile run if you're quick, a lot faster than that. And so it's time consuming to get those longer rucks in, especially when you have young kids around.
It was, and I was just, and I wasn't even really trying to train. I was just kind of like, okay, no hot spots, good. No chafing, in any of the kind of classic chafing spots, good. Okay, good to go. And I'll tell you, here's the biggest mistake I made. I underthought nutrition. I knew that I needed to keep putting calories in the whole time, but I didn't really think too much about it. I stopped at like a Wawa or something on the way and bought like 2 boxes of Cliff Bars. I was like, I'll be good. I'll just eat one every hour. After about 4 hours, I could barely look at a Cliff Bar. That was the worst mistake in the world, because then I didn't want to eat them anymore. And just the thought of eating them, made me sick. But we got through it.
And how's the recovery from that?
Honestly, I wasn't too bad. I came back and I didn't have any physical injuries. I was sore, but it wasn't terrible. I foam rolled and got a good night's sleep, and we actually stayed in DC for a little family vacation, and so I think I was walking around the mall, the day after.
That's a great recovery. After my 50 miler, I was hobbling for a couple of days, but it wasn't too bad. I know some people have been laid up for a week plus afterwards. So it seems like both you and myself got off on the easier end.
Yeah, no, I think I did. I think I was very lucky considering the lack of preparation and thought I put into it.
So definitely glad that worked out for you. For those listening and planning your first 50-mile event, probably do a little bit more training than that, but who knows?
Yeah, no, please do.
So you had mentioned that, Team RWB and GORUCK have been kind of putting on joint events together for years. I mean, I remember some of the virtual events that have happened on GORUCK's website. I've been down in Jax for a Team RWB camp in the past, and that was a ton of fun. You've got something planned coming up with them, and so I'm really curious, what you've got going on.
Yeah, so the last 2 years we did this kind of it was called Ruck Your Colors, and it was a cool event, but I think there was some desire from both us and GoRuck to just do something new and different, and we wanted to be more involved on our end, because we love our community, loves GoRuck, we love GoRuck, we love the Rucking community, we wanted to be more involved. And we've had this idea that we've been kind of kicking around for a while, and we decided to just roll it out, and the quarantine was a great opportunity to kind of push it out. And so we're doing this event the whole month of August called Ruck-A-Sketch. And that sounds crazy, but it's probably, and most people are listening to this, you probably have never done anything like this before, but it's a sketching event. And if you haven't heard of that, that's, people will use mapping software to draw pictures, which some people have seen. And so there's some mileage requirements that you can sign up to do. And then we're going to have categories for things that we want people to draw and with their route. So there's some thought that needs to go into this ahead of time. And then we're going to ask people to put them on social media and use a hashtag and tag both us and GORUCK, Team RWB and GORUCK. And we're going to do some voting to pick the best ones. And there's going to be some really cool prizes. So we're going to have people try to draw the best Team RWB Eagle. We're going to have people try to draw the best spearhead, GORUCK spearhead. We're going to have the best kind of fail, because it's very, like oftentimes these things will not turn out. You think you're going to draw the Mona Lisa and you get something very different, right? And then there's a kind of another category where people get to freestyle a little bit. And we're super excited about this because it's an event that I think is going to be really cool, and it's going to be very different for both of our communities. And it's still going to be as physically challenging as you want to make it, but it requires some thought. I mean, you have to really sit down and figure out what you want to sketch, figure out the route, how you're going to do it, and go out and execute it.
That's awesome. And I mean, I'm someone that I love looking at Strava art, I guess is what, some people call it as well, where people have made these designs with their runs. And I didn't even know about the categories before this. So I'm pretty excited because I can't wait to see people putting together their best, whatever the categories are, best eagle, the best.
So there's 4 categories. There's the best eagle, there's the best spearhead, and then there's the best kind of, we're calling it, what are you thankful for? Anything that you're thankful for. So it could be everything from, tacos to, family to like whatever, what you like, something that you like and you're thankful for. And then we're going to have the best sketching fail, right? Like when something just turns out terribly. And we have an example we're holding back where the Team RWB Eagle is not easy to do. And we have a fantastic fail for that we'll share at some point.
That's great. I can't wait to see it. My favorite fail of probably this year was the Boston Strog. Did you hear about that one?
No, someone missed the R or what, the N?
The N. They ran 26.29 miles trying to spell out Boston Strong and forgot the N. It says Boston Strog.
It's harder to do than I thought. And so it requires, it requires some planning, and you got to think about where you're going to do it. And like for me, I was trying to map out a Team RWB Eagle, and there's some spots where I'm going to have to like kind of squirt through to complete the route. I'm gonna have to like squirt through someone's backyard. I shouldn't say this, but like squirt through someone's backyard to get from like road to road, And so it requires a little bit of thought.
It does. I mean, it's perfect because it's just like just like the Etch-A-Sketch. It's like how do I get over there when I'm here?
Yeah, and we've got the patch and the shirt are, they don't have Etch-A-Sketches on them, but they're kind of, they're very cool. like I think they're pretty kind of retro and vintage and cool. And so I hope everyone will like them as much as we do.
So the event starts first day of August. You've got the entire month of August to complete it.
Yeah, so we're going to roll out the registration, I think, on July 20th. So there'll be a good 10 days of registration prior to August. But people can join at any point. But you have to complete your miles in the month of August. But you could sign up at any point during the month, but it's got to be in the month of August. And then at the end of the month, we'll do the judging. And I think we're going to actually kind of do some in the categories. We'll do some kind of internal picking. And then I think we're going to do some online polling and let the communities decide which art they think is the best and should win.
I'm already excited to follow that hashtag on Instagram because I'm sure there's going to be some pretty enjoyable stuff showing up.
Yeah, I want to see some really cool stuff that people do. I mean, if you think about, if someone wants to sign up for I think there's a 50-mile option. I mean, gosh, you could probably, you could paint the 15 Chapel in 50 miles. I mean, I don't know. You could do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. So what are the distance options?
So there are 3 different distance options, and I'm going to pull this up. There's a 10-mile option, a 25-mile option, and a 50-mile option.
And that's going to be exciting because, I mean, for the 50-mile option, obviously rucking 50 miles is a big deal. You can probably get a really cool design out of it, but I'm almost just as excited to see someone try and make some of these things in only 10 miles.
Well, that's the kind of the thing that's so exciting to this amount. Like, rucking 50 miles is hard, right? No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, that's hard. To me, I live in Louisville. It's like walking halfway to Indianapolis, right? Like, that's hard. But, you get to, if you're just walking in a straight line, you can kind of just put your head down and, bite down on your mouthpiece and go, which is kind of, wrestling term if anyone's a wrestler. But, and you don't really have to use all your cognitive functions, kind of later in those miles. You can just like go. With this, you got to think, because if you make a wrong turn or you miss or you get lost, like you'll really mess your design up. And that's one of the things that, so you got to kind of stay, especially if you're in an urban area, like you got to stay tuned in. And that's one of the things that's so exciting to me about this is that it's like you got to flex some different muscles. Yeah,
you definitely can't zone out because, I mean, like you said, there goes your design.
Yeah. And you start over. I hate for someone to have to do 50 miles twice. No cheating. I don't want to see anyone using what do they call it? Paint shop. Is it paint shop? What is the program
Photoshop?
People use to like Photoshop to like alter their stuff?
Yeah, no cheating. Hopefully with our communities that we've got a strong ethical base. No one's going to be opening up their XML Strava files and deleting points or doing anything else underhanded.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be the case at all. So I'm excited to see what kind of stuff people will come up with.
Me too. I'm already kind of trying to think where I can start doing some of these designs. And I mean, that's going to be part of the issue too, right? Is you have to find a spot where you can actually make this happen.
So 100%. Like that's part of it. This 100% requires some forethought and some planning, which is, I think, also part of what we were going for. Like we, make no doubts about it. Like we are trying to use this. Like people need to get out of the house. People need to exercise their brain. This is something you can do with other people. Like this is us trying to help keep people healthy during this quarantine and during COVID. Like 100% is why we're doing it when we're doing it, the hottest month of the year, right? And so, like, we want people to do that, and it's going to be a great opportunity. Like, hopefully, there's some great competition that occurs between kind of the ruck clubs and our chapters, and just the different, all the GRTs and the Eagles, and just I look forward to seeing some really cool stuff.
Me too. And so you mentioned, registration for this. It's going to open before the month of August, so people can get registered and they can get ready to go. Is that through the Team RWB app? Is it by making the purchase on GORUCK's website?
Yeah, it's through the GORUCK website. So you'll make the purchase on it's a GORUCK event. We're working together, but it's a GORUCK event hosted by them. So you'll go to the GORUCK website and make the purchase there. And it will be, we should say, like, this is an event, but it's also a fundraiser for us. And so, they've been super generous with us over the years, and we want this to be a really fun event. But it is also a fundraiser for us, and it'll help us continue to keep our programs running and continue to serve veterans.
Like we've kind of been saying with COVID-19 shutting a lot of stuff down. I know a lot of nonprofits that I've talked to, they've had to cancel fundraisers, and things are just kind of a little up in the air this year. So it's really exciting that you're able to put this together.
It's hard out there right now, no doubt about it. And so, but there's also I think increased need, especially in our community, right? And I think we're going to see some increasing kind of mental health issues that in the future as we kind of come out of this. There's a lot of social isolation and loneliness, and people aren't being super healthy. Like, I think we're going to have to deal with that as a community for a while. And so this is, the need is not changing. If anything, it is increasing.
I can't think of any time that this level of social isolation has improved my mental health. So I can definitely see that being the case.
Well, I even look at myself. Like, I always have tried to stay pretty active, and so, but for a lot of years, I was working a lot, so I'm like doing, pull-ups and push-ups and dips by myself, which is like, don't get me wrong, like that still was better than nothing. But doing it by yourself, like we're social creatures, and so the putting of the social connection back into fitness for me has been really important. And I think it's important that we continue to do that for everybody.
Yeah, I think so too. Absolutely. So I'm really excited about this event. Like you said, registration is going to be through GORUCK's website at goruck.com, the entire month of August to create this design. Is there going to be a spot to kind of submit your design, or is it just posting on social media with the hashtag?
Yeah, it's just posting on social media with the hashtag. And so what we're asking people to do is to tag Team RWB and tag GORUCK and to use the hashtag Ruck-A-Sketch.
Perfect. So get your design done, post it up on social media. Social media places, I mean, it's going to be Instagram, or is it going to be Facebook?
Yeah, I think either of the two would be fine. Like, we'll be monitoring both. I think primarily most people will use Instagram, but if you're on Facebook, we'll catch it there as well.
Perfect. And then I'm really excited to see the voting and probably cast my vote at the end of it, because I mean, there's going to be some good stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I think there's going to be some really cool stuff. I want to see someone make, like, who can make the biggest kind of spearhead or the biggest eagle. You could probably make a pretty massive GORUCK spearhead with
50 miles.
With 50 miles, or if you wanted to do more, right? Like, do an 80 miler. It'd be pretty cool to see what people can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So is there anything else, I mean, with this event that we might not have covered? I feel like we've done a good job running through it, but is there anything that we might have glossed over or missed?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I think the biggest thing is this is us coming together and two longtime friendly organizations who are trying to do something cool and do something different. I would just ask, there are probably some people in the rucking community or even in our membership who are going to say, like, ooh, that sounds a little weird or different, maybe a little cheesy. Try it. That's the only thing. It's going to be different. I think it's going to be fun. It's not kind of just the same old thing. And I would challenge people to really put some thought into something cool and interesting, especially the what are you thankful for category. Like, that could be anything. So I want to see people put some really interesting stuff together. So, start thinking about it now and, get after it.
And there's going to be links to registration for all this in the show notes. So if you're listening to this in end of July or in August of 2020, you can still get registered. If you're listening to this after the fact, then maybe throw that hashtag into Instagram and see what other people have done, because I'm sure there's going to be some pretty cool stuff out there.
Don't be scared to send your fails in. If it doesn't turn out good, send it our way.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, kind of before we wrap up, I just want to hop back over and talk about, Team RWB, how to get involved and kind of get that information out there again, because, I mean, at least in the Seattle area, there's I believe it's the Kitsap Team RWB group. They show up to all the GORUCK events. They've always got a great presence. And, if there's people out there who are looking for rucking community, where should they go to get involved in that?
the easiest way, you can go to our website, all the information is on there. I just tell people just download the app. Like that's the thing that's most convenient to everybody. Download the app, join the organization. If you're a veteran, you can get a free shirt if you just pay a small $5 shipping fee, get an awesome kind of red Nike shirt. And download the app and see what's going on around you and get involved. And I think that's the easiest way. We have chapters in the normal world in close to 200 cities around the country. And if you want to, do more, we're always looking for volunteers as well. So, feel free to do that as well. But the app is really kind of the center of our universe. And that is going to get you connected with everything that you need.
That's perfect. And you could even use the app, I would assume, to find your local chapter and then kind of get involved.
100%.
And when things start opening up, there's in-person rucks, there's in-person, I know there's a lot of yoga, there's running groups, there's cycling groups. I mean, there's pretty much everything out there fitness wise.
We hosted 40,000 events last year almost. So it is around the country. So there is a lot going on. It's obviously going to be less this year because we've been forced to cancel so many, but there is ample opportunity to get involved. And so, my challenge to everyone would be to do that. Maybe I'll kind of close on this thought. Previously, health is a big issue in the veteran community right now. Previously, there was something, I think that was called that maybe the healthy soldier effect, something like that. Military veterans were more healthy than kind of their civilian counterparts as a result of the military training and, the grit and kind of resilience that they got because of that. And for whatever reason, that has changed now with our current generation of veterans. And veterans are more unhealthy than their civilian counterparts. And I think something like 80% of veterans are overweight or obese within 5 years of getting out of military service. And it's a big issue because of all the comorbidities with your mental health and with other conditions. And so we're really working hard to try to keep people healthy in our community, in the veteran community. But there's ultimately, we can't do it for you. You have to do the work yourself. And I just would challenge people to take a hard look in the mirror. And, it's really important that you stay healthy for a whole host of reasons. And this is a great way to either keep that journey going or maybe get started on that journey.
I love it. And I mean, just kind of doubling down on getting started on that journey. If you meet up with your local group and you really, mesh with them, it can be a lot easier to get started on that journey when you have people by your side, when you're not trying to do it alone.
Yeah, it's a great way to make new friends too, right? Like making friends as an adult is hard. And many of the people that I know here in Louisville, I've met through Team RWB events. And so especially if you're maybe new to a community or you feel like you don't have any friends or have no good kind of close friends, this is a great way to meet people and get to know kind of like-minded people in your community.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, from there, you can look at the events that are going on, the activities people are doing, and you can, try something new that you might not have felt comfortable doing, before that. Like I know there's groups that get together a mountain bike and, that's not something that everyone's done. It can be a little intimidating, but if you're doing it with people that you trust that are friends, you can have a lot more fun.
100%. My experience with yoga, I wouldn't have been caught dead on a yoga mat 10 years ago, but I was kind of forced into it via some friends at a Team RWB event, and I'm a huge fan. And so I probably would never have taken that step on my own. I wouldn't even say probably. I never would have taken that step on my own.
I'm in a similar boat with yoga. I probably never would have started doing yoga until I was looking for ways to recover. And I was noticing that a lot of the people who had completed GORUCK selection, they were doing yoga 4 times a week. And they were saying, do yoga, do yoga, do yoga. So I gave it a shot and I love it.
Yeah, I got challenged into it. A friend of mine was like, well, you're just saying that because you can't hang. What? What? You just said the right thing to me.
Are you telling me I can't stretch? I can totally stretch.
And then I went to a Bikram yoga class and I just got crushed. I mean, absolutely crushed. I was like, I'm just doing everything I can to not pass out right now. That's my only goal, is to not pass out. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great story, because that's one of those things where you have, something in your mind that you've got a clear idea of what this thing is. And then you show up and your idea is shattered. It is nothing like what you thought it would be.
I'll never forget, I called and I was talking to my dad, who's an Army veteran as well, when I was going there, and I told him I was going to this yoga event, and he was like, "Isn't that just like stretching and chanting?" I was like, "Well, I don't think so, Dad, but I'll tell you after I get done."
I'll call you in an hour and a half and let you know.
Yeah.
That's the best response. Isn't that just stretching and chanting? I love it. Well, I want to make sure that we're able to hit everything that you wanted to cover, taking the time to be on here. Is there anything that we might have missed related to Team RWB, related to their involvement with GORUCK? Anything else you want to say about your first event, about the Ruck-A-Sketch event? Anything you want to say before we get going?
No, I don't think so. I just, I'm excited about this. We have a long relationship between our two organizations, Team RWB and GORUCK. Like we have, we hosted Ruck camps for years where we would bring, GORUCK cadre in to host camps, to include the one that you came to at the GORUCK HQ in Jacksonville. So I'm just really excited to be working together with them, especially on a project like this, which has been a lot of fun. And I'm sitting here looking. I have the original Rucker, that I use every day as my computer bag, and I'm excited to put this thing to use in a little bit different sense and put some miles on.
Thank you so much for downloading the All Day Ruckoff podcast. This has been episode number 161 with JJ Pinter from Team RWB. If you want links to anything that we talked about during this episode, hit up the show notes, alldayruckoff.com/161. Really hope you enjoyed learning more about Team RWB. This is the first time I've had someone from that organization on, so it was great to chat with him. Things have been a little crazy around here for the past couple weeks. If you noticed or not, missed a couple episodes, we'll be making those up. But the episode that's coming out next week, I actually recorded at the beginning of July, and that's got some more details on what's going on with that. And I appreciate everyone who reached out about that. If you want to support the All Day Ruckoff podcast, you can always leave reviews, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you listen. If you want to support financially, there's the online store, alldayruckoff.com/store. And of course, patreon.com/alldayruckoff. Links to all that in the show notes. Thank you so much for all the support. Hope you're surviving out there. Hope you're staying safe. I know it's really hot in certain parts of the country, so if you're getting out there and rucking, hopefully you're bringing extra water, bringing some fuel, being smart, staying safe, and still getting those awesome workouts in. As always, don't forget, attitude is everything. Keep yours positive, and thank you again for tuning in.